maybe on the topic of the starting a business and whatnot.
Yeah.
So Dad did that. So with the tax changes that recently happened now, capital gains tax. Oh, sorry. Let's actually not start with that. Let's go for the VAT threshold. So they're raising the VAT threshold from 1 million rand to 2.3 million rand for companies to register, right? That means that like you don't have to register now until you make 2.3 million in revenue yearly. For those of you that don't know, that's one of the changes that came with the budget. And that has some implications, obviously, for people starting businesses now. But is there an incentive for people to now unregister themselves?
Well, for sure. I mean, there definitely would be. There's obviously some implications you would have to think of. But let's start with the incentive first, right? I mean, one, you paying for VAT is well, by not paying for VAT, you freeing up cash flow, right? So that's like a big thing, and it's depending on your turnover. I mean, if you are less than the 2.3 million and you registered, every 2 months you're kind of going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay your VAT. So that removes that issue of having to find that cash flow every 2 months to kind of pay that VAT. The other thing is, it increases the level of business, right? So sometimes people will neglect growth so that they don't have to register for VAT because of that cash flow issue and the admin intensive things that come with it and the additional costs to reconcile your VAT, to submit your VAT, to outsource all of that stuff as well if you can't do it yourself. So it increases the level of business, I think. So and I think there's a lot more pros than cons. I think the one negative impact and something that people would have to consider is, if you've purchased inventory, if you've purchased assets, and you were previously registered for VAT, and you go and deregister, you're deemed to have sold those assets and that inventory. So if you've claimed VAT on that, you must then, as if you have sold that, you must go and now pay the VAT on that. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, kind of thing, So you would in essence still have to go and pay some sort of VAT in the process of deregistering. Long-term benefit, if you're never going to hit that threshold, it might be worthwhile sinking that cost now. But if you're going to end up passing that threshold in the future, you might as well just stay as if you registered at the moment.
Yeah, so with all these changes, the kind of lens that I tried looking at it through is what is the government trying to signal to the people on what they should do? And I guess with this one, the first thing that came to mind was this is kind of an admission by the government on like, hey, unemployment's still rampant and we're struggling to fill those jobs. Go out and be entrepreneurs, employ people. But two, what you just said on if you have assets, then you were basically damned if you do, damned if you don't. It makes me think of like software-based companies, tech companies, because you don't have a physical product that you're selling at a certain time. So you would have no repercussions for that. Do you think they're trying to support that industry a little bit more?
Possibly. I mean, look, it's obviously if you make taxable supplies, that's the big catch. And taxable supplies don't just necessarily sit on inventory; it's services rendered as well. So in that instance, if you deregister for VAT, I don't believe you would have to still pay VAT if you were to continue rendering the same service. But to speak to your point, it definitely does increase the need for more business and creating jobs for sure. And I mean, I think you might have seen, but they've almost withdrawn, kind of they've overdrawn on their budget, in a sense. So now they're trying to free up some revenue somewhere else and trying to make it more appealing for us. And I don't see this little threshold of 2.3 million kind of turning around and to bite people in the back kind of thing, and it's going to drop again in a couple of years. I think they're trying to encourage trade and encourage reducing unemployment, creating more jobs. Because these small businesses, these side hustles and stuff, they will often cut costs and cut the size of their business so they don't have to face these admin issues. And to be honest, that's where a lot of your unemployment would be covered, and you're expanding those smaller businesses. You're going to create a heck of a lot more jobs with all these small businesses and these informal trades, if you want to call it. So I think it's a great move.
I also do think I like that one. I always say like we need to have more sense of entrepreneurship in South Africa, and the government does need to do us some favors because we're starting from such a low point. Um, there's also, I think the most interesting one for me was the kind of windfall effect we got from gold and platinum being at an all-time high because of the world being a super unstable place now. I mean, the Iran incident was days ago. So it's unfortunate events that's favored us fortunately, and now we kind of get some of these benefits. But I think the fact that this so-called like sin tax that's been so heavily in our favor with petrol, tobacco, and alcohol, it's almost like the government's trying to say we're going to keep these at inflation rate, keep you guys happy, you can get to the bride still. But I wonder if some of that is also a distraction tactic of this keeps people relaxed, this keeps people distracted from other problems that might be going on.
I think, look, if you look across the board, a lot of the stuff that's increased, I mean, the tax tables for one is, I'd kind of think we've fallen behind because in previous years on the tax tables, because they haven't moved them for inflation for 2-3 years. So now we're behind 2-3 years in inflation in tax, but now they've moved that tax table by an inflationary movement. And I think the same applies for the sin tax. It's, I think year on year they've actually gone and increased it for inflation. And look, inflation's not great. It's not great in South Africa, and it's the only way you can kind of maintain. I mean, why do we increase our prices at a business every year? It's to keep up with inflation. So you're keeping people happy, and also. Look, I think if it increased by more than inflation, you're trying to discourage people from consuming alcohol and trying to stay off using more public transport and not spending fuel on their private cars and private. If it was to increase by more than inflation, but then you run the risk of, well, your business starts to drop. So then what's your give and take?
I wonder if some of that's also affected by the high rate of tourism that we have now, and us kind of leaning into having that be a major market. Do you think there might be any risk? So, we've benefited from global instability, but if things calm down in the next 2-3 years, do you think there's a chance this kind of inverses on its head?
I think if we were to leverage this position in our favor, look, I don't think the rand is doing well. I just think the dollar is not doing well. So, and obviously with all the geopolitics that's going on, prices, like you mentioned, are in our favor in a certain sense, and I don't think so, because if you look at it from now, you're going to invert and be more stringent, then your whole national speech that Cyril had, your SONA and your budget speech, you're looking for long-term stability in a country that's trying to break into your third world barrier.
Or first world.
First world barrier.
It'd be really bad if we break into the third world.
Into the first world category. So, and look, you want to encourage people to pay tax, and the only way you encourage people to pay tax is if you improve your economy and you improve your country, and that's the only way people are going to pay tax, or become more willing to pay tax.
There's a second way I'd actually say it's also improve the quality of services that are using the tax. Improve road quality, improve infrastructure, stuff like that. And I think Cape Town's done a great job of that. I think that's one of the places of exception. I think Joburg is really hoping to catch up, and God, I hope at some point Durban does something about that CBD.
Durban never been a tourist destination for me.
Dude, when we were kids, we went to Durban every single holiday. We used to love it, and then it just got like dirtier and dirtier every single year now. But there's no reason whatsoever that Durban should not be our version of Florida.
And it can be, it literally can be. And I mean, I remember in school going on water polo tour. I mean, I think we also went on rugby tour down to Pietermaritzburg. I mean, not Durban itself, but that whole road that from Durban into Joburg, Durban is a massive port, a harbor where a lot of our import trade is coming from, so there's no reason why that shouldn't be a place where you're seeing a lot of infrastructural development. Like, why not?
Yeah, I think the other one's also. It, America is always the best example for a good economy. I know it's not doing the best right now, but I think America in its down years is still better than 99% of countries in the up years, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that's interesting there is you obviously have companies can start on any coast that they want. They can start in any environment. And people tended to flock to places like California and Seattle and New York. New York, it was because that's the first state, so that's where the majority of people just begun. But California and Seattle and Florida, which is now, I don't know if you know this, but Florida has the highest rate of immigration from within the states. Most people are flocking to Florida. The reason is people move for the weather.
Yeah.
Why stay in North Montana, where you're basically on the border of Canada, freezing your butt off, when you can go stay in California? So if you look at it from that perspective, there's no reason that Gauteng should be our most populated province. It has the worst environment out of all of them. So you need to up Durban's quality. Obviously, Cape Town's doing well. You need to up East London's quality, and make it a place that people want to move to, and that breeds businesses there, that breeds competition, and so on.
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Maybe for like the average Joe, I think the biggest implication was the tax-free savings account changes. So I'll be honest. I want you to explain this to me like I'm a dummy, because I started my tax-free saving account this weekend.
Yeah.
And to my understanding, it's like they've now changed your yearly contributions to 46K, which means you can now contribute more per year, but the lifetime hasn't changed, right? That stays the same. So you get this benefit of then going to maximum lifetime much quicker, and then obviously the compounding interest is very important. But I guess the thing that I want to know is, what flexibility do you have in these tax-free savings accounts? Because I see some people debating on which one is the best and why it's the best.
Yeah.
Is this just something that like you pump money into and then you just forget about it until 60, or do you have some influence control over this?
So you definitely do. So I personally have one myself. I've geared my risk up to the max. Well, not to the max, but very high. So obviously more risk, more reward. The reason why is because, I mean, it sits there. You don't touch it until you retire, if you want to say that, or until you think that, okay, it's the right time to kind of. So why not put a lot of risk on it and just get great returns? It's money you're never going to see. So I think you definitely do have control. You can shift your tax-free savings from different portfolios because it's linked to your ID number, your tax reference number. So you can shift it from a bank to an investment institution, not a problem. So you definitely do have control over that. And if you're sitting with it on easy equities, you can play with that however you want. You can move it in stocks and different portfolios and bonds and whatever you kind of want to do. So flexibility in that sense, you have a lot. You have a lot.
So it's interesting. I thought it was literally just like a savings account that people would put money into monthly. So you're saying you can go and invest that however you want. What about offshore investments? So can I use my tax-free savings account to buy stock in Nvidia or well, let's just say Nvidia, because it seems like they're going to the moon every single time I check them.
Yeah. So I do think you can. I have a financial advisor. He's put a lot of my TFSA on offshore equity. So I do think you can. Look, if you're a tax resident in South Africa, you qualify for a tax-free savings. And if you're a tax resident in South Africa, you're taxed on worldwide income. So whether your money harvests benefits overseas or within the country, that money is still taxed. Although it's a tax-free savings, it's still income in South Africa. It's seen as income in South Africa. So I do believe you can move it offshore.
How does that work with crypto then?
I wouldn't say I'm clued up on crypto.
Okay.
So yeah, I tend to stay away from crypto. I don't see tangible benefit in it. So I don't know. I can't give an opinion on crypto.
Crypto is the most crazy rabbit hole I went down, and it's quite crazy that you have churches of crypto coins at this point.
You can pay in Bitcoin now. I mean,
but also you don't want to be paying in Bitcoin now. It's not looking too great for them.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that clip from the interview of Agu. If you want to come onto the podcast, remember, all are welcome. Just fill in the form in the description and we'll see if we can have you on. If you want to watch the full podcast, click on the link here. If you want to watch anything else from the channel, click on the link here. Thanks for watching, guys.